Hi, and a very warm welcome to this channel Nourish to Flourish. I'm glad I'm receiving a lot of messages and thank you very much for the appreciation that you're sending me. Today in this series, as I told you, we are going to discuss about the self-awareness and some certain practical techniques. So let's begin. And let me ask you, do you ever catch yourself feeling blue at times and you don't know the reason? Are you feeling lost? Are you feeling less of energy and are not able to complete your goals? Do you label yourself as a people pleaser because most of the time you're saying yes to the things that you want to say no? Too often, believe me, we are working on the autopilot mode. Our mind is always on the autopilot mode. We ourselves are not aware about our own emotions, thoughts, feelings, habits, reactions and impulses. In this scenario, it becomes very important to bring in the concept of self-awareness. So what is the self-awareness? Self-awareness is the first pillar of emotional intelligence, which refers to be authentic or be real. It means identify the reasons why certain things are not working in your life and how it is impacting you physically, emotionally, morally, spiritually and from all other sides. In short, self-awareness is the ability to observe and accurately identify your own emotions, thoughts, feelings, reactions and impulses. And we need to check whether they are based on the reality or no. So self-awareness is nothing but identifying our own emotions. Once you are able to identify your own emotions, you will be able to better handle them. As of now, our mind is controlling us. We are not controlling our mind. And that is because our entire life has become on the autopilot mode. Now the important question comes. You understood what is self-awareness. The next important question is, how are you going to create self-awareness? Or what are the techniques to be self-aware? So in this video, I am going to share two important techniques that you can start practicing right from today. The first practice, identify your triggers and negative emotions. We are on so much of the autopilot mode that we do not focus on our triggers. What are the triggers? Trigger means we lose our balance, we become angry or we express negative emotions such as sadness, fear, frustration and so many other negative emotions when something happens, when someone disturbs us. We get triggered by events, situations, people around us and at times because of our own thoughts and feelings. We need to identify why I get triggered with any kind of an external event or a situation or a people. When you identify your trigger, it will give you two benefits. First, you will be able to identify the reason behind you getting triggered. Because when you bring your focus on the trigger, the next question you ask yourself is, why did I get triggered? What happened? But generally we don't ask this. So we need to ask ourselves, why did this situation or a person triggered me? What was the reason behind it? And the second benefit is, once you identify the reason behind the trigger, you will be able to practice pause. Because as you have identified the reason, it will give you time to respond instead of to react. So you practice pause. When you identify the reason, it leads you to practice pause. And pause leads you to respond and not to react to any situation or any person. And you become a better communicator. The second way to be self-aware is to focus on your body. Let's do body scan. Have you done it? One thought brings in the emotion in us. Sad or happy depends upon the thought that has come. And that one emotion brings in the physiological change. If you are happy, your body will react accordingly, will show you the changes accordingly. You will smile, you will dance, you will jump. If you are sad, your body will have accordingly the changes. How focused are we towards that physical change that we get? Next time, when you get into any emotion, focus on your body. Focus on the heart rate. Focus on the muscle tension. Focus on the breathing rate and other physiological changes. This is nothing but called as body changes or a body scan. So when you do a body scan, you actually are getting into the self-aware zone. And once you do the body scan, you are able to identify how the bodily reactions are also bringing in your psychological changes. So body scan is the another important technique to be self-aware. I hope you have understood what is self-aware and how to practice these two techniques. Now, as usual, let's get ready for the guest of the week. Guest of the week is Sadaf Siddiqui. She is an amazing mentor, amazing teacher, and a beautiful writer. She has got a rich experience in teaching more than a decade. So let's welcome Sadaf and listen from her experiences of how she inculcated self-awareness in her life.
Good morning everyone, I am Ms. Siddiqui, Ms. Sadaf Siddiqui, a biology teacher and an educator. Now today we will talk about a very interesting topic, that is your self-awareness. Now as we know, self-awareness, emotional intelligence is the current trending topic. Everywhere we hear about emotional intelligence. Name a page or anywhere we don't hear it, it's none. We hear this is the most trending topic, that is emotional intelligence. Now before I discuss about self-awareness, emotions and emotional intelligence, let me talk about what is self-awareness. Now what is self-awareness? I will quote the famous Adam Grant, the psychologist, who said a very famous quote, that what is more dangerous than ignorance is the fact that we are ignorant of our own ignorance. That is, more than not knowing something, it's more dangerous that we don't know our own self, what we don't know. So that is more dangerous thing, because when we know what we don't know, it's easier to work it out. But the problem is when we don't know what we don't know, and that is the biggest form of ignorance. That is the most threatening or deadly, which finding a solution is a very tough one. Now, what is self-awareness then? The biggest solution for self-ignorance is self-awareness. Now, what is self-awareness? The term self means our own self, like we all are, oneself. Now, what does awareness mean then? Awareness means being aware. Now, what do we mean by being aware? It means, being present at the moment. Being present at the moment and feeling all the emotions. Just like if I ask all of you to just stop at the moment, just pause and just stop and feel all the emotions that you're feeling. It will be like a whirlpool. Our emotions are constantly like a whirlpool or a current, revolving, or you can say just like the planets revolving around the sun of the solar system. So our emotions are continuously revolving. They are not stable. And and if we don't know how to manage our emotions, there will be a boom, bang, and there will be a collision. And just like if the planets are not rotating, in a proper orbit around the solar system, so what will happen? The planets will collide. Similarly, here also, if so many emotions are there, if we don't know how to channelize those emotions, they will bombard, collide, and they will cause mental breakdown. So managing our emotions is something which is very, very important. Now, how do we manage our emotions then? Or why is the need of managing emotions? So these are the things which we are going to talk today. Now, self-awareness, the most important word I would can use it is self-knowledge. It's just being aware of your own self. It's just being honest, plain simple honesty we can say. It's just being honest about yourself and your emotions, what you're feeling at the moment. It's being honest. Yes. So the most important thing about self-awareness is, first of all, it is self-knowledge. Means you're aware, getting aware, or you're acknowledging your emotions. You're being aware, you're knowing your emotions, acknowledging them, accepting them, and working upon them. Because with self-awareness, we come to know about what are the different triggers which are there in our body, or what causes, the certain triggering elements that changes our emotional setup or emotional well-being. So that emotional triggers have to be identified. We need to know, and with self-awareness, we are able to, normally predict our normal, most likely expected behavior. What is the most likely expected response? That normally if somebody is behaving in that manner, so what is the most, when we know what is the most likely expected behavior in that particular situation, when somebody is trying to particularly trigger that, press on the triggering button, when we know that this is the stimulus, this is the response, and I have a space between my stimulus and my response, and I'm going to choose it very wisely. There, in that space between choosing the stimulus and the response, we have the power to control. That power of control is where our growth lies. Okay, so that is the most important space that we have to choose that. So self-awareness means being aware of your emotions, being aware of your triggers, what are the emotional triggers, how to identify your all your behavioral patterns, being aware of all the behavioral patterns, identifying our behavioral patterns, or predicting what are the most likely, normally how we would have responded in that particular situation. Now if we are aware, we can actually reflect and take a pause, and instead of the most likely expected response to a stimulus, we can use our IQ. Okay, that is IQ plus EQ, emotional intelligence, and smartly we can choose our response. So it takes a lot of intelligence, not just intelligence, it takes a lot of EQ, that is emotional intelligence, to act intelligently. Not just IQ, it takes EQ as well. So that is something which is very, very important. Now, when we know, self-awareness means we know our strengths, we know our weaknesses, we know our gaps, we know which are areas we lack in, which are our confident areas, so we can work upon our areas. To solve a problem, we need to first be aware of the problem. We need to accept, okay, this is the problem, this is my problem areas, I will work upon that, and then only we can solve it. So the first step of, the beginning of all wisdom starts with knowing yourself. Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. So important. So develop on your EQ, emotional intelligence, develop how to control your emotions, not always bombarding with anger. Pause down, think, reflect. There are so many good things to look around. You will feel appreciated. You will feel that gratitude from deep within, that I have so many wonderful things that others do not have. So just take a pause, relax, and feel happy, and replace every one negative with 3 positive things. I'm sure you'll have a wonderful, healthy, and balanced life. So with this, I'll end, and thank you for being a lovely audience. And that's it. All the best, everyone. Just feel happy and fulfilled.
Thank you, Sadaf. It was a very enlightening and interesting experience to listen to you, and thank you for the awareness that you have brought into my audience. Thank you so much. Friends, self-awareness is the key which will open the doors for you to become better communicator, to improve your relations, and to be your authentic self. See you in the next video. Till then, this is Leena Soneja signing off.